come on, man. My high-tech setup is sliding all over the place. More tape. To the rescue. Sorry guys, I'm budget with my roll of blue tape that holds my phone while I make these. You should see this contraption. It's kind of ridiculous. But it works. Look at that. It's not sliding anymore. And I got a little ice pack behind the phone to keep this thing cooled down because the shit overheats and it'll just stop recording. So, I ate a good chunk of my lunch. I'm actually got a tummy full right now. I only got a grapefruit left. Got here hecka early and munched down. I was hungry, dude. I couldn't wait for you guys. But I do have a grapefruit and I'll probably dig into that here in a little bit. But I had some cool things to talk about that I was thinking over this last couple days or whenever it popped into my head. Can we sleep with our eyes open? And I don't know that anyone's ever really tried. I mean, maybe somebody in the world has, but likelihood of you having tried it before is low. I've never personally sat there and really put energy into trying to figure out if I could sleep with my eyes open. But the thought crossed my head and it made me think about something else. Because when I thought of it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this and see what it starts to feel like if I focus on trying to sleep and continue to having my eyes open. But when you get sleepy, your eyes start to want to close. It's like this natural reaction, or the eyelids get tired and they can't hold themselves open or something. I don't know what's making that happen. But if you were to like prop them open or do some crazy shit, you could, it would be interesting to know if you would eventually fall asleep, because you have to sleep. You only live I think it was 11 days with no sleep and before you're dead. That's crazy. And so you start hallucinating after like 3 or 4 days. You start just hallucinating from no sleep. That would be a crazy thing. Don't want to go through that. I've actually had sleep deprivation or whatever, stayed up too much. We're trying to take care of a child of mine, and I got to a point where I was so freaking tired. It was like I was paralyzed. My brain was kind of awake and it wanted to do something, but my body was like, nope, you're not moving, bro. Sorry. Shit, I just freaking physically couldn't move, dude. It was crazy. Anyways, I slept that one off. So I was thinking about if it's possible to sleep with your eyes open, and when I tried to attempt to do it, I was thinking how it would work, and my eyes start to get heavy, and then it's like, oh, I can't keep them open, and then from the inside out, your eyes kind of just give up. But I'm like, is there something else that's keeping me awake too? Like the light part, right? Is the reason that my eyes close and want to block the light, because the light is causing some kind of a reaction in me, like as if it's like fuel or the electricity. Like, are we solar powered, dude? In some form. Like, I know we have to eat food and water and stuff. You're not 100% solar powered, but it seems like the light coming into your eyes kind of activates or triggers this perpetual-ish energy that is like it's there and it's built up, and this fuse is there built out of food and body parts and whatever, but you need that light to light it up, light your fuse to kind of use the energy. And I don't know what would happen if you lived in a world of darkness. Like, you wouldn't sleep all the time, I'm sure, but it seems like you would probably sleep more. And I don't know, maybe not. I don't know how that would work. That's interesting too. How would it be if everything was just dark? Like, how long? Well, I wonder how that would affect, that. And is light like forcing us to be awake or to be alive even? Like, maybe it's like we're just this thing until light hits us, boom. It's like just turns you on like a switch. You don't have a choice. Freaking light's happening. You're in motion. Like, if you connect the positive and negative sides of a battery to something, it delivers the energy, and that little motor or whatever doesn't have a choice. Fucking energy hooks up to it, boom, thing's on. Starts spinning the fan. And so maybe we're like that with the same thing with light. And when light comes into us, maybe that's like God or something. It's this like force or something that's greater than just what we define it as, something that we see with, because it reflects and whatever, creates the imagery in our mind or the back of our eyeball, however that shit works, I don't know. But if light is like our energy battery or something that starts us in the beginning of time or whatever, it seems like that had to have some sort of part, and definitely does. Like, we worship the sun. We're only out here when the sun's out, for the most part. I mean, because of how big the world is, how many people are here, sometimes people got to do stuff at night. But they keep the light on. They're not doing it in the dark. So we still need light, even though we do it in the night. And so it's like light seems like it could have this other secondary, like, cause of, that it cause and effect thing that it is a participant in with regard to jump-starting our existence into interpreting what's happening. Like, it's this energy, like we're solar powered or something. It has to be there. And I wonder if we would have, if if it was all dark, if we would just, um, if we're like charging during the day, we're out here charging up, and then at night our batteries turn on, and that's how we stay alive at night, because we have a battery in there that's solar powered, charges during the day, we lay down at night, turn everything off, run on batteries so we don't die, and have this like dream world or whatever. Or maybe we have, oh yeah, in the daytime we're charging our batteries. What if we have like a, so our soul or our spirit or something is there in the daytime with us, and then we go to sleep, and while we're sleeping it goes to another body and leaves our body there in sleep on battery mode, and kind of like keeps its finger over here, and our soul or whatever goes over and handles this other body in its daytime where the energy's flowing, and it sources itself over there or something, while still delivering some of that energy over to your body. Maybe that's it too. It's transit. It's like a conduit from one dimension to our dimension, to keep you alive without the light being there. When I was thinking too, like maybe if like when we're here and we have a daydream, and we're just like, sometimes you just daze out into this dream or whatever, you called it a daydream, where you just kind of space out, and then when you kind of come out of it, it's like, oh dude, I was in this dream for who knows how long. But my thought on that is like, when you're having a daydream and you kind of just like skip out into space, maybe your soul is like, oh dude, I left the oven on in this other dimension, hold on, put this guy on pause, or this guy over here needs an emergency, or he woke up in the middle of the night to go pee and shit. Oh no, my other dimensional responsibility is waking up to go pee. Hold on one second, let me put this guy on daydream. Put him on pause. Come over here. Okay, go pee. Come back. Go to sleep. All right, come back in here now. Boom, I'm out of the daydream. That's funny, dude. Maybe that's our multi-purposed soul or spirit that's running around doing all these chores, and we're just one of the chores that it has to do during the time that light energy is. Because maybe the soul feeds off of that light energy, that is that little process that's happening when light comes into our eyes and keeps us awake and makes our brain start doing things that think and whatever. We don't really pay close attention to that. But I wonder if we could really focus on what's happening there, if it's being forced to do those things, because it almost feels like it is. You don't always want to wake up. Light is the helper. I mean, it's not always the determining factor, but it's definitely like, you want to wake someone up, turn the lights on. When they open their eyes, that light coming into their eyes is going to speed up the wake up process. Potentially, because it's forcing their body to do something. Like electricity, when it touches the two ends of the cable coming out of it to make the engine spin, the positive and negative. So That's super interesting, dude. Light forces us to live and or makes it possible, and maybe we're solar powered human beings that require the light just to work or to even get started in the first place. Our whole humanity could have been um, you know, possible, made possible just because of the light forcing us to have existence or have energy and be able to process all the things that we process. So I thought that was kind of cool, man. Enough to kind of just spit it out and think about. But it kind of made me think about how it led me to think about how we're talking about, living without sleep and how long you would live is only like 11 days or whatever. 11 days, and 3 to 4 days later you start hallucinating. It's like, so what about food? The max, like, what if we didn't have food? How much of that it kind of made me think of our sliver of comfortable existence. Like, there's all this massive amounts of shit that could be happening, and different pressures and temperatures and sustenance and, water and fucking lava. Like, you go into outer space and there's just temperature ranges that are insane. It's just insane. But we can't. And then light is one of those things we have to have. That's kind of what led me to this. And then, but we're in this like little sliver of sustainability. Like, we can't really go outside of that. Like with food, and I looked this up. An average person will live somewhere between, depending on their health at the time, somewhere between 14 and 30 days. So 2 to 4 weeks with no food. And then I looked up the Guinness record on the longest anyone has ever survived without eating. And the longest record is 382 days. Dude, it's over a year. This dude was in the hospital, hooked up to a freaking machine that was feeding, or that was giving him vitamins or something, probably. But that was one of the things that he used. It says that he survived on tea, coffee, water, soda water. Not sure what's up with that. Probably just for something new, something to offset the texture of just flat water. And then vitamins. This dude lived for over a year on just that, and then I don't know if he killed over or what, or started eating and he lost an ass ton of weight, like cut his weight in half or something. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. Like two weeks max, like a month ish. If you don't eat, you're dead, and you'd have to be drinking water during that time. On the other side of that, water. If you don't eat, if you don't drink water, average person will die in 3 days. The maximum length you can live is 6 days with no water. That's crazy, bro. Not even a week without water. Dead. And in that process, day 3, if you were to make it to 6, day 3 to 6, you're in hell, dude. Even day 1, 3 days, dude, you gotta go a whole freaking couple days without water and just straight die, dude. That's insane. 3 days, 3 to 4 days. The average is actually 3 days. You have to have liquids, and we don't always just drink straight water, but you have to have something liquid, and fruit or something that's got liquid. I imagine that the 3-day thing includes not eating peaches and pineapple and shit that's all juicy, because fruit is full of water. A lot of it, foods, vegetables and stuff that grows out of the ground is filled with water. And so I don't know if they were including that in there. Maybe that's where the 3-day to 6-day maximum thing falls into play, depending on what you're eating and how much, liquid it has in it. But the other kind of thing that we fall into a slice of survivability on is temperature. I was thinking about how, if it gets too hot, like, what's the maximum temperature we can survive at? It's not very high, dude. So I looked it up. Turns out basically what it comes down to, the average or ideal temperature for a human body temperature is 98.6. The comfortable range for a human body is 97 to 99 degrees. If you fall out of that range, you're uncomfortable. If you get down to 95 degrees, dude, we're talking like 3.6 degrees down from ideal and 4 degrees down from comfortable maximum. You're in hypothermia. It begins at 95 degrees. If you go over 99 degrees to like 101, 101, you have a fever and you're probably sick. You go past that, you're gonna fucking die, dude. You get too hot. So our sliver of comfortable temperature is pretty freaking small, and then it's like, okay, that's body temperature, but what about outside of the? Oh, and then I also looked up the Guinness thing on the lowest temperature a human body has ever survived from, and it was 56.7 degrees was the lowest body temperature somebody has ever gotten and came back and survived at. And that was the recorded temperature of survived lowest rate. It also said that at 140 degrees air environment temperature, human will live for about 10 minutes. Dude, 140 degrees, you're done, dude. 10 minutes, you're fucking dead. You're gonna go into hypothermia too, or some sort of freaking heat stroke-ish thing, which I think is categorized in the hypothermia thing. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is, because thermia and extreme hyperthermia has to do with temperature, so it's probably up or down. Although it seems like I associate it with being cold more. But hypothermia happens on the hot side at around, because if it's 100, I've been to Vegas, driving home, giant fucking thermometer or whatever, 125 degrees, driving through the hot ass thing, no AC, had my heater on in my fucking truck because didn't want it to overheat. Things we'll do just to get to a Grateful Dead concert. But that's 125. We survived that shit. We were drinking water, had the windows open with that hot ass dry breath blowing in our face and the engine hot, dude. The actual temperature in there in the truck with the heater on was probably higher than that. We were probably pushing levels of death, dude. Now that I think about it, if 140 is 10 minutes to survive, dude, another near-death experience that didn't even get comprehended because didn't realize how close of a temperature we were nearing ourselves to having heat stroke. So, I mean, if it got to like 150, 170 degrees, dude, I think water boils at like 180 or some shit, you'd be done, dude. You're just dead. Like, you're not going to survive. So our range of livability with regard to temperature is fucking small, dude. And then if you go to the extreme side of temperature, there's something called absolute zero, which is negative 459.67 degrees. At this point, everything stops moving. Atoms and particles and shit, nothing even moves anymore. Everything's just, I don't even know what it would look like. It would just be God probably or something. And then on the other side of that, there's something, a measurement, we have Fahrenheit and oh dude, what's the other one that I'm freaking totally losing my mind right now. Whatever the other one is, I can't think of it. But ways to measure temperature, and one of the ways is Kelvin. So 0 Kelvin is absolute zero. And then it goes up from there. And the hottest temperature that can sustain the laws of physics is some sort of crazy mathematical equation that we can't even comprehend. But it writes out like this: 1.41683. In parentheses, there's an 85. Whatever the fuck that means, it probably means that it just goes on for 85 digits or something. Times 10 to the 32nd power. So, if we get that many kelvins, the laws of physics cease to exist and no longer apply. I can't even kind of imagine what anything in a space, that had that temperature would look like, or what the fuck would that be, dude? It's like insane hot. It's like it melts atoms or something. Like, I don't know, dude. Maybe that's hell. That's how you enter the gates of hell, is that once you hit 1.42 kelvins, oh well, and all this other times 10 to the 32nd power, whatever that adds up to. You get to that, dude, and you're done, bro. You're in hell now. That's like the butthole of this universe, and you fly into hell, into eternal super Kelvin. But that's the maximum temperature that is understandable by humans according to the laws of physics. And that is insane to kind of imagine. Like it seems like it would melt a hole through time or something. Like, what the fuck would that do? If physics doesn't exist anymore at that temperature, what the fuck would happen? That's trippy, dude. If you had like a baseball this size, something the size of a baseball that was that hot, hotter than that, twice as hot as that, 2 times the maximum height, what the fuck would happen to the universe, dude? Would it burn a hole in time or something? Like, that's crazy, dude. I wonder what the math says about that. And then the next thing that I thought about too is sound. Like, we love music and we love sound, we turn that shit up, but there's a certain level. Like, it can't be too quiet or we won't be able to hear it. It has to be in a certain frequency or we can't even know what's happening. Like, all these, you got sound waves and microwaves and radio waves and all these fucking waves everywhere. But you can only hear certain wave patterns or frequencies. And so if it's too quiet or falls into a frequency, you won't be able to hear it. And then on the other side of that, if it's too loud, it can just, dude, blow your eardrums out, can probably like just vibrate you into death or something. I didn't look that up. That's interesting to think about. But what I started thinking about is how we have to keep our sound, buffer or whatever within a certain spectrum in order for humans to function. Like, we can't just be walking around and everything is just super fucking loud. Like, the factory down the street is so loud my house falls apart. Or my eardrums blow, or I can't even hear myself think. It just doesn't work. We have to have peace and quiet in the general society areas, right? It can't be all super loud. So there's this range of comfortable sound level that if it's exceeded, we're not built to be able to survive that. I don't know what would happen. We'd probably go insane or have to cover our ears. But it made me think about the limitation that puts on our ability to discover things that might require technologies that use things that are extra loud, super fucking loud, or super hot, or super cold, or whatever kind of thing that takes away one of the, parameters that we need to live within. And so I thought about aliens and how potentially maybe aliens don't have ears. They don't even acknowledge sound waves. They could be as loud as they want, but an alien doesn't even know that the sound's happening because they communicate with brain waves and microwaves or something. And so their communication doesn't require sound out of a mouth. And maybe that's why when you see these guys, they just look like they have a little slit and a big brain. They're talking to everybody at the same time with their giant brain, using ESPN or whatever it is that allows them to talk to each other using their mind waves. So if that was the case, they would be able to use technologies that would be supersonic loud, and it wouldn't affect them at all. They wouldn't even know that noise was there, but that technology might be producing something that we could never even come close to accomplishing, because it would just be so loud the whole world would hear it, and anybody close to it would probably explode or whatever. Or, I don't know how that would all work. Seems like the vibration would totally jack you up. But that's interesting. Maybe I should look into that. But it seems like it's kind of like a limitation of our potential technological advancements, that sound is only acceptable to our physical bodies in a certain range. And the food and water thing, that probably comes into play too with long travel distances and stuff, because if we could go forever without eating, like no problem, then we would be able to do much longer explorations and journeys and stuff into who knows what. But I just thought that was kind of weird how we have this like little sliver of comfortableness that we survive in, and it just makes me wonder if there's other beings that are not bound by those same restrictions and are capable of doing other things only because they are not bound by those restrictions of temperature and sound and food, water, whatever, and light, having light affect their eyes and give them the energy that we potentially get from light. Because if they're in outer space in the middle of nowhere, they might be away from stars that give the amount of light we get from the sun that is required for our solar bodies to work. But they might not have that same comfort zone requirement or functionality requirement as we have. So from that standpoint, we're kind of stuck here, and we're not going to ever be able to get to the next level unless we can overcome the restrictions of our comfortable level, our comfortable zone, our functionable zone or whatever. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of worth mentioning. And then another thing that I was thinking of that's kind of interesting is so this is a religious thing. Like within religions, some people so every religion has people in it, and if that religion is the right religion, then the people who are in that religion found the right religion, and everyone else didn't. So whatever that religion says is going to happen to the other people, that's what's going to happen to them, because this is the right religion, whatever it is. So the God of that right religion, I think, in my understanding of gods, they kind of like see everything, know everything, are everything, everything. And so they kind of knew in advance that those people that they placed on earth were going to be the ones that were built correctly or positioned properly to locate the right religion and decipher it properly so that they could come back to the Lord that created us, which happened to be the Lord of that particular religion. But the other people who didn't find that religion God would have known that they weren't going to make it. And so if that one God made all the people, which is a question as well, maybe those people were made by other gods, and that's why this one God doesn't care, and he's only the right God for his portion of people that he only wanted back. And, God's come here, place people on earth to season them or something, and then bring them back, and we're going, ooh, sausage party. We're going back to the kitchen to get eaten up by gods after we're seasoned on earth. But if God knew that those people, if it's not like the multiple God thing and it's the one God and he created everybody and he knew that only 10% or whatever were going to make it back, it seems like those people that he knew were going to make it back and the ones that found that particular religion are special to him somehow, like they're divine or something. Like he made them who they are and knew that they would be the ones to come back, and if he made the other ones, he knew they wouldn't. So it feels like it's like a superiority thing in the eyes of God, and almost like religion is saying, in order to be superior to the rest of the world in the eyes of God, you have to do these things that our religion says and follow this way of life or whatever. But the funny thing is that at the same time, they preach self-doubt and tell you that not to listen to yourself and that you're a sinner and you're evil. But luckily you found this religion because you're also divine, because God knew you were going to come here. So you're an evil divine person, superiorly evil. But it pretty much, what that adds up to is just confusion. And it's, it kind of ends up making it feel like you should understand it, but you don't. You should feel it, but you don't. I am being told I'm evil, so I must not be understanding it all the way because I'm evil. So I'm going to ignore the fact I don't understand it and use faith to cover that up so that I won't be evil and I'll make it into the pearly gates of God's arms or whatever. And so that's what ends up happening, I think, and that's what I disagree about with it. But it seems like if God chose those people to be the ones that he would deem righteous enough to come back to him, it seems like he chose them for a reason, and they offer him some sort of benefit to come back, and the others are like, if you're not chosen, you're done. You're doomed, and you're enemy to God almost. It's like that only purpose on life was to be here to confuse those ones that would make it, or the little stragglers that didn't end up making it, if there's some play in God's plan in a gray area or something. And that's interesting too, is the whole thing a gray area and everybody just whatever, and God didn't have a plan, and he's just like, okay, let's see what happens, and I'll say I had a plan, but we'll see if they, how that works. Because if it's all gray area and we make the decision, it seems like the God part got taken out of God's hands and put onto the humans, since we're the determiners of the outcome of something that's got to affect God in the end. Like if he is all the other stuff that we aren't and what we are at the same time, and we're doing something that he's rooting for, he's got to be rooting for it for a reason. Usually the reason is for some kind of benefit if we're created in his light, in his image. That's why we do stuff. Act so that you'll react, so that I'll get a feeling. That's why I acted. God's got to be something like that too, I would imagine. I guess he doesn't got to be anything, but it seems like the ones that found the religion kind of must be, it seems like that in the eyes of God, those people should or would be important or superior in some way to the people that didn't make it in the eyes of God, superior to him. Which sounds like it should translate on earth into some kind of superiority. If I'm the one who found that religion, I'm like, hey bro, God's child here, you're not making it, out of my way, or something. I don't know exactly if it would work like that, but the other thing that's kind of a little bit interesting, that's similar, kind of tied to that, is the instinct versus intelligence or thinking it out. Because there's like these two ways of things: fight or flight, or think about it and do what's right. And so there's almost like a battle in your brain with certain things to do with that. And it feels like instincts are something that are almost uniform on a certain plane, like the fight or flight thing. It's only two options, and so the uniformity happens with regard to those being the only two options that any one person might have. So there's some kind of uniformity, even though it has two options once you're standing in the point of incident. So the uniformity is kind of there with regard to instinct. With intelligence, it's not so much the case. Like intelligence is at different levels, different whatever, and the world kind of defines what intelligence is. It's not like I can go out there and be like, I'm smart because I said I am. Fucking whatever, you're a dumbass, Dirty Honey. Nobody thinks you're smart, dude. Shut up. So the whole world thought I was smart. Then it's like, oh my god, dude, it's fucking Dirty Honey. This guy is so smart. I must be smart. But if the whole world's like, dude, he's a fucking lunatic, dude. Look at this guy, Jesus. He doesn't know shit. Right? Everybody hated on Jesus. And so, what does that mean? I don't know where my brain went somewhere on that. Everyone didn't hate him, I guess. He had some disciples and stuff, and people were making religions about him now. But I don't know what had to do with intelligence because I'm stupid, you see? I told you. I don't know where that went. But my point of it is that instincts seem to be, I'll talk myself back into it and maybe I'll remember. Seems like instincts are kind of like a universal-ish a set of options. And the intelligence side is more like a personal, perspective-based understanding that leads you to make a choice that is sometimes in opposition of what instinct would do, because your intelligence or your brain thought it out and thought, nope, it's way smarter to do it this way. I'm not going to do that. Okay, even though my body is telling me to do this, my brain's like, hold on, dude, don't punch this dude yet. All right, just think it out. All right, you're gonna end up getting in trouble. Blah, 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 blah. So your brain thinks it through and makes an executive decision to override the instinct. So when I was thinking about this just last night, actually, it kind of reminded me of the Adam and Eve Garden of Eden story with the tree of knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, which is the one tree in the entire Garden of Eden that God told Adam and Eve they cannot eat from. They can eat from anywhere else, but not the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. That was the name of the tree. And so the tree of the knowledge of good and bad kind of sounds like intelligence, right? It's like, it's the knowledge, so you know something, and it's of what's good or what's bad, so it's like right or wrong, which could be religion, or is, good and bad could be a wise decision or a dumbass one. So you're making decisions with your intelligence that would override what your instinct would have done had it never accessed that tree of knowledge of good and bad, or right or wrong, or smart or stupid, okay, or pretty or ugly, or whatever. There's all these contrasts that tree added to the brain to be confused over and not just follow its instinct, which I think that tree had nothing to do with. And so based on that kind of, perspective on whatever, it seems like it could be taken that instinct could be the voice of God, and we're confusing our voice of God with our dumbass intelligence that's getting in the way and thinking things out of fucking turn and ruining God's instinctual plan. He built us right. We're built in with all this stuff, ready to go to the end of the race. But Adam and Eve fucked it up, ate the fruit. Now we're using our brains and we're spinning everything around in our brains instead of just running straight through and going in like we know we should. This is what does that. That's what does that. I've built this way. God made it. It's instinctual. It's in me. And so maybe that's what we were built with. That's right, true, correct, and might even be God's guiding hand that we, on a regular basis, ignore or try to justify going against it by using our knowledge of what's a good idea or a bad idea. And so it's possible that intelligence is actually the stupidest fucking thing we've ever had. It's the biggest cripple in our existence. Intelligence might be the tree of the knowledge of good and bad. Good decisions, wise. Bad decisions, stupid. And instinctual, God built it in. It's in the code. Don't have to read about it. Don't have to think about it. Don't have to ask anybody what I should do. Looks good, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to make it to the next one. I'm not really paying attention to all these other things and worrying about it and planning this so that'll happen. I'm just going with God's flow, and called instinct, without confusion or other input. This kind of reminds me of kind of this little story or whatever I made up about the ideal human that I would want to be, mentally speaking. and that would be, or perspective speaking on these topics, is if this kid was born in the woods to this hippie family, right, and his parents got eaten by a bear when he was like 7. He can't remember his parents. He can't remember any of his childhood. He raised himself in the woods with the wolves or whatever, and lived a whole life as long as any of you and I would live. And then he died. Never met a single human being in his entire life. So the perspective that I'm looking for here is his mental state and how he would see the world and understand the meaning of life, and how would God accept him? What would God think about this guy? And so he would actually be the instinct pure person, although he could be using intelligence that might confuse and get in the way of some of those things. Still, it feels like he might be closer to the instinctual human that would be closely related to God, which might help answer the question of what God would think about him, and lean it towards what I think God would think about him, which he would like him because he created him. And why is God going to make something he doesn't like and just wants to cause suffering to, or something? I don't know. If I create art and I end up not liking it, I don't burn it. I just, sometimes I'll erase it and do it over, flip the page over and try over there, you know. I'm gonna freaking rip it into little pieces and stab each piece with a needle and then light each individual piece on fire for eternity and do it all over again. Like, damn, bro, sorry you fucked up and drew a picture you didn't like. Take it out on the paper, man. So, but, yeah, so anyways, the intelligence thing. Oh, yeah, so it seems like intelligence could be a hindering or a crippling feature of humanity, being that from the viewpoint of God, if God built us with instinct as the perfect map, but Adam and Eve fucked it up and unlocked the brain power or whatever to think things out, and that confused everything and made everybody want, you know, more, because that might also, because if we think about animals and stuff, I don't, that we believe base all their stuff on instinct. They're not really reading a book about it or something. They're instinctual, and then they probably do learn, though, from experience. But I think for the most part, you know, they're not like, I don't know, maybe they are. I was gonna say they're not like prideful or selfish, or like all the human traits that would get in the way of being righteous or whatever. But then again, now that I think about it, animals do sometimes have those features as well. They can be greedy, they can be, you know, picky, they can be, oh, what is it, like prideful almost, or whatever, where it's like, you know, one dog's more powerful than the other one. Like, nope, this is mine. Get out of my space. This is my house. I was here first. So maybe animals aren't so perfect either with regard to their instinctual God-built roadmap or whatever. Or maybe the instinctual roadmap's not God-built. I don't know. But it kind of just felt like it was a good contrast to instinct, which is more of a universal, you know, thing where it's like, you know, we run through life. Our instinct will typically tell us to make one of two choices, or something that's a minimal amount of choices, where intelligence leads us to endless potential of choices and reasons why, and then what about this, and variables, and what about X and Y? We don't even know what those are. Like, so it gets too complicated, and then we question our built-in instinct that God laid out for us potentially. And so I don't know. Just thought about that. Maybe our mind is the devil. So yep, that's it. I just thought that was kind of neato, and wanted to talk about those things. I thought it was going to talk a lot longer than that about them, but they kind of finished themselves up. a little bit quicker than I anticipated. Although there were interesting thoughts from my perspective. It didn't change anything about listening to 91.5 FM on the radio, KUSC.org on the internet, or be nice. That's the main plan, dude. Be nice. It's also another plan that's super awesome. Subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. All right? Or knock on your next door neighbor's door and be like, boo, boo, boo. Subscribe to Dirty Honey. Bye. See what they say. They'll probably call the cops. And then you can leave it in the comments and be like, dude, Dirty Honey, I did what you said and I'm in jail now. Thanks a lot, dick. Just kidding. Anyways, I'm going to cut this one short. It's only 45 minutes and I'm running out of perspective to lay on your brain. And I do have other things to do today too. I got to my lunch spot a little bit early. Spent 15 minutes of my time wolfing down my sandwiches and my other fruits and stuff. Apple, banana, orange, 2 sandwiches, and a crunchy thing. These crunchy rollers. Rice. I know it's in a package. Alright, ingredients. Rice, cane sugar. I'm cool with that. So, anyways, alright, man. We'll see you guys next time. We do every weekday. Try to do every weekday. 11 a.m.-ish. And we'll see you next time. Alright? Be nice. Bye.